probably the number one section of your book that I had probably from what I read that I had the most agreements with is like if you were to look at the cover of my first book, Mode 1, you would see that my eyes are on the cover.
No, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and even though most of my advice, honestly, is probably 95% of my advice is towards verbal communication. One powerful form of nonverbal communication, I believe, is powerful. Direct eye contact, and second is what you just mentioned is quality. Like when you read "Ooh, Say It Again," you're gonna see. I spend a lot of time talking about men training themselves to improve the quality and tonality of their voice, because that's probably one of the most underrated tools of seduction a man has is their voice. I can't tell you how many women who I fucked when we would talk about, like a lot of times I like to ask women, like, okay, what was the key thing that made you say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give him the pussy? Was it my looks? Was it this, that? Almost all the time they say, ooh, it was your voice, the way you used your voice with me, and like, for example, next to physical sex, one of my favorite things that you'll also see me mentioning, who said again, I have a thing for phones. I love phone sex. I've had phone sex, probably the last 15, 20 years, I probably had phone sex with about 1,700. And that's how I get women into phone sex, because they'll say, oh, your voice, Alan. You just seem to say 3 different women, but if you use 3 different voices, your reactions will be totally different. Like, I could say to you, Kenzie, oh, shit, I just want to slide my dick all in your pussy. Just... Versus saying a real high energy, hey, Kenzie, I would love to fuck you. Oh, my God, I'd love to fuck the shit out of you. See, that second one is not sexy fucking at all. But yeah, when you have that even tone, like, oh, shit, I slap that soft ass while I'm sliding my hard, juicy dick in that pussy, fucking the shit out of you, titty fuck you. And that's another thing I tell guys, you can't put the cart before the horse. Before you can fuck any woman, there's one mandatory, gotta get her pussy wet. So that's one of the things I have guys concentrate on, is not so much the actual act of sex. I feel like once you got a woman's pussy wet, you're over half the way towards your objective of fucking a woman. But you gotta get a woman's pussy wet. You can do it either way. Some guys will say you can do it strictly through nonverbal means, and I don't totally disagree with that. I think the best way, though, is a combo. It's a combo of verbal and nonverbal. But if I had to lean towards one or the other myself, I definitely lean towards verbal. I've gotten a lot of women's pussies wet just by talking to them, talking about putting my tongue on the clit, sucking it into my mouth, and talking about sliding my nice juicy dick in and out real slow, not too fast initially. Kind of what I call dancing in the pussy. And I talk to a woman about how I'm a dance and a slow dance in her pussy. And she's going to feel my spot to the point where she's going to want to squirt. And
love it.
What did it just made you chuckle? I want to feel
your voice is so rich. Your voice is deep. It's me.
I cheat a flatterer. I have 4 books out, and that's my 3rd book. It's called Ooh, Say It Again, Mastering the Fine Art of Verbal Seduction and Oral Sex. Not O-R-A-L, but A-U-R-A-L, sex. And anytime I'm talking to a woman on an individual level, and she says something that I perceive as kinky or out of her normal character, or it could be something just flattering to me, I'll say, oh, say it again. And they'll usually say it again. Yeah, over the years, I think, starting with the mid to late 90s, women would always make comments. They say, Alan, you always say it again. You should have a book with the title just called Ooh, Say It Again. And for years, I laughed at that. But then actually that did end up becoming,
Sorry for interrupting. This book is about verbal escalation only, or does it explore non-verbal also?
Well, that's a good question there, in case you
say it again.
All right, I got some bad news, man. Some bad news for one of my former friendships that is now ended, man. Yep. I'm no longer cool with the young brother known as C Boogie, man. Not cool with him, man. I'm writing him off my list of people that I think is cool, man. I don't like C Boogie no more, man. I don't like C Boogie no more, man. So, yep, this is another beef in my long list of beefs with people, man. I don't like C Boogie no more, man. I used to always, give him his kudos and respect, and now I ain't cool with him no more. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. Now, me and C Boogie still cool, but he did do something, man, that in a very lighthearted way, in a keyword lighthearted, in a very lighthearted way, it agitated me, man. It agitated me. But at the same time, it gives me a reason to emphasize something that you heard in my intro. The woman that you heard me talking to in my intro is a woman that was once categorized as the top female men's dating coach for men, or pickup artist teacher for men, and that's Kezia Noble. Kezia Noble. She's based out of London, and I interviewed her in October of 2012 on my old Blog Talk radio program, Upfront and Straightforward. And we were talking about direct verbal game versus indirect verbal game, and just a lot of stuff associated with that main topic. We had a lot of subtopics we talked about. Matter of fact, there was two things interesting about that interview. One during the interview, and one thing that happened after the interview. During the interview, I got my 5 archetypes: reciprocator, rejector, wholesome pretender, erotic hypocrite, and manipulative time waster. And I've always said that most women, whenever I brought up those 5 archetypes, a lot of women will agree with 3 of those 5. A lot of women will agree with it as many as 4 of those 5 archetypes. But if there's one archetype that a lot of women will try to act like doesn't exist, is the manipulative time waster. More than any of the 5 archetypes, that's the number one archetype that a lot of women tend to want to debate me on and basically try to suggest that it doesn't exist. And Kezia Noble was one of those. If you're going to go back and listen to that interview, I think I'll probably put the link in the comment section. But yeah, when I started talking about my 5 archetypes, she agreed with 4 of the 5. She agreed with reciprocator, rejector. Everybody agrees with those 2 archetypes, reciprocator and rejector. She agreed with wholesome pretender. For the most part, she agreed with erotic hypocrite. But when I got to manipulative time waster, she was like, no, there's no such thing as a manipulative. In so many words, she tried to say there was no such thing as a manipulative time waster. And I was like, that's bullshit. And how I shut her up is I said, so you telling me that every man you've had in your life that you looked at as just purely platonic friend material, you straight up told them that they was never, ever, ever going to get inside your pants and fuck you. And she just got quiet. And that's why I was like, gotcha, bitch. That's why I was like, I got you. I was like, the only way you can tell me that you individually or any other woman has never, ever been a manipulative time waster is if you can tell me straightforwardly and honestly that every man that you've ever maintained as a purely platonic friend, that you let that purely platonic male friend of yours know in an upfront, specific, and straightforwardly honest manner that he had a 0% chance of getting in your pants and fucking you. If you can't tell me that you've done that with every single purely platonic male friend of yours, then you've been a manipulative time waster. And sure enough, she tried to laugh it off, but she acknowledged, she's like, okay, yeah, I've had some platonic friends that I didn't tell them straightforwardly that they would never. Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. Very very few women. Now, there's some women I've known who've done that. Like, I've had some of my female platonic friends back in the day who would tell me straight up, they'd be like, Alan, I just look at you as a friend. Like, we never gonna date. We never gonna fuck. I want you to know that up front. So I have had some women who were bold enough and courageous enough to tell me that up front. But the vast majority of women, they don't tell men that shit up front. So anyway, that was the interesting thing that happened with me and Kezia Noble during the interview. Here was the more amusing thing that happened after the interview, and this is related to the excerpt you just heard. Now, did you notice when I started talking to her about dirty talk and the way I talk dirty to women and shit, she was just kind of real in a real soft voice saying, uh-huh, 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 mm-hmm, uh-huh, mm-hmm, uh-huh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Go back and listen. That's the main thing she just said. She just keeps saying, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, uh-huh, mm-hmm. See, usually when women have that type of response, if you didn't realize this already, that usually means a woman's pussy either is wet or is starting to get wet. And here's the kicker. I posted that excerpt, the very excerpt you heard. It was a little bit longer than the excerpt you heard, but generally it included the excerpt you heard at the beginning. A few weeks after I interviewed her on Blog Talk Radio, I put that on YouTube, right here on YouTube. I used to do that with some of my Blog Talk Radio episodes. I would put like a 10 to 15 minute excerpt of some of my Blog Talk Radio interviews on YouTube. So I put like about a 15-minute excerpt because the whole interview was about 2.5 hours. And I took about roughly 15 minutes of that interview, which included the excerpt you heard in the intro. I had that on YouTube. And a lot of her followers, not my followers, guess what a lot of her male followers were saying? They was like, damn, that Alan Roger Currie is a bad motherfucker. He got Kezia Noble's pussy wet. It must have been like about 20 to 25 male fans and followers of hers that came in the YouTube comment section was like, I don't know who this Alan Roger Currie is, man, but he a smooth motherfucker, man. He got Kezia's pussy wet. You could tell. You could tell by the way she was just like, uh-huh, uh-huh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, uh-huh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, uh-huh. Yeah, so guess what she did? Because she got real defensive about it. She made this big deal on her Facebook timeline. Because me and her were Facebook friends at the time. I don't think we still are. We might be, but I don't think we are. First she asked me, she wrote me on Facebook through inbox and asked me to remove that 15-minute excerpt on YouTube. She said, I want that removed. Matter of fact, she got it removed. I just thought about that. Yeah, do you know she actually found a way to get that removed? But then I put it back up again a second time and it stayed up, but it didn't have the same comments in it. But yeah, the initial one I put up there, she lied about something and got it removed, had YouTube remove it. And along with it, all those comments that was in my comment section. But anyway, then she went on her Facebook timeline and said emphatically, for all of those who keep inquiring, I'm going to let you know, dating coach Alan Roger Currie did not have me playing with my pussy. I was not playing with my pussy while I was listening to him. And I would even say it wasn't even wet. It wasn't even tingling. He did not have me playing with my pussy. And his dirty talk did not have my pussy wet. And she had all these exclamation points. And I just came on her timeline like, you're making it worse, Kezia. With this emphatic denial, you're making it worse. So anyway, Kezia, she was cool though. Actually, we had a good interview. I've never met her in person, but I've heard good things about her actually. Now back to C Boogie. Now, you know, there's a lot of people, particularly black men on YouTube, that like to engage in roasting. Something that's been going on for years. That's not even specifically a black thing. If you go on TV, you'll see the Frank Sinatra roast, the Dean Martin roast, the Don Rickles roast. You know, a lot of celebrities, there used to be a thing on TV, certain celebrities would have this TV event where they would get their friends would roast them. So I would say, man, I'm generally a good sport if I'm getting roasted in what I feel is a truly, humorous, lighthearted manner. But there's a little thing that's bothered me about people doing what they consider to be impersonations of me. And this is at least the second, if not third time I've heard C Boogie do this type of impersonation. They do this impersonation where they'll have my voice like real high, almost like sound like Michael Jackson or somebody. Now, does my voice go up at times? Yes, it does. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But I don't think my voice has ever gotten as high. Like, I was listening to Obsidian's live stream, one of his live streams last year. And they were talking about me, and some guy says, like, here's my impersonation, Alan Rogers Currie. He started talking real high like this. He's like, insert dog face here, insert dog face here. I mean, talking all light and shit. I was like, where's that coming from? This real light-ass voice. My voice does go up in terms of its tonality and inflections, but it don't be going up as high as these motherfuckers. I've heard at least 3 different dudes on YouTube, when they call themselves impersonate me, they'll use this really, really high. I'm going to play the clip of C Boogie impersonate me.
And like even Alan said it in his rebuttal that he did to that particular live stream from Obsidian's platform. He was like, yo, C Boogie, man, I really like C Boogie, but what I gotta say to C Boogie is like, duh. That's what he said. And he was right. Like, I just stated a matter of fact, like, yo, this nigga done had his way. Like I say, hearing what I heard from him in some of Alan's podcasts and, his pictures that he would put up when he was younger, I'm like, oh yeah, this nigga, one of them jawline niggas. You know what I mean? You kind of mix that in with some verbal seduction, man, this nigga gonna have his way. Like, he was saying shit like, I've had mothers and daughters sucking my dick at the same time. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now. So that's where I was coming from.
Now see, did you hear that? Did you hear that impersonation? Now again, I'm a good sport about it. I ain't gonna get too sensitive or defensive about it. But again, man, I know my voice goes up. Because actually, interesting enough, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this, is that this is actually one of the things I cover in my one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions with clients. I'll spend at least a portion of my one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions working with guys on how to manage and modulate their vocal tonality. That's one of the things I work on when I do my one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions. Because the reality is, a lot of us men, it ain't just me, a lot of men, well, women too probably, but definitely men, a lot of men's voice is all over the place depending on what they're talking about and the emotion that might be dictating their verbal delivery. Yeah. So, let me play it again, man. This just cracks me up, man. I would challenge somebody to say they've heard my voice go as high as C Boogie had it.
And like even Alan said it in his rebuttal that he did to that particular live stream from Obsidian's platform. He was like, yo, C Boogie, man, I really like C Boogie, but what I gotta say to C Boogie is like, duh. That's what he said.
And see, he damn near got me sounding like a woman, man. He got me damn near sounding like a woman or a man who's had his testicles removed. And I'm sure he was exaggerating for comedic effect, man, but damn. But again, he ain't the only one, man. There's at least 2 other guys over the last couple of years that was on different live streams or a podcast, and they called himself impersonating me. And yeah, I remember one guy again was on Obsidian. He was talking about, he was imitating me when I say insert dog face here, but he was using this real light voice. He was saying, I said, insert dog face here. Shit. Man, come on, man. Because the reality is, okay, now I'm going to play a clip. Let me get it real quick. I'm going to play a clip from, if you go to audible.com for my 4 audiobooks, you'll see that each audiobook has a sample, like about a 5-minute sample of me speaking. Now, I'm going to contrast that with what you heard of C Boogie's. This is my voice from my book, my audio book, The Beta Male Revolution. The Beta Male Revolution.
Mode 1. Chapter 12. Reality 3 of today's dating scene. Men have no desire to court or woo a woman who they have no desire to marry.
Women, bless their little naive and delusional hearts. One of the most frequent complaints I receive from single women is, Alan, why don't men seek to court us and woo us anymore? It seems as though every man I meet is just looking to jump right into the sack with me. I think that is so shallow. You see, there was a time when many women who were sexually duplicitous and highly manipulative, covert gold digger types were able to get over on and seduce beta male types into long-term relationships. For beta male types, that all men who were womanizing alpha male types were the wolves in sheep's clothing, and that they were the innocent victims who got used by these lying, selfish men. Then came the knowledge, wisdom, and advice offered in the manosphere, and everything changed.
Now, did you hear my voice go up in tonality and inflection in that excerpt? No. My voice was very deep and very resonant. I've been having people tell me for years, man, that, and again, I would say this applies to the vast majority of men. Most men have different variations of their voice. Like, number one person I would highlight would be my own brother. Like me and my brother, if you were to listen to my brother talk, we're almost like vocal twins. We have a lot of the same vocal tonalities, a lot of the same inflections. And my brother, his voice goes up a lot of times. Here's the top 2 to 3 times when my voice tends to go up in inflection. And people, when I used to do my blog talk radio show, people used to point this out a lot. That was the first time over the internet that a lot of people were pointing out was when I used to do my blog talk radio show, upfront and straightforward. Matter of fact, I had a woman named Gina, good friend of mine. She was a long time listener to my blog talk radio show, and we became friends. Her name is Gina. And she was one of the first ones to tell me that. She said, Alan, she said, because she had listened to some of my episodes of The Erotic Conversationalist. And if I say so myself, when I'm on The Erotic Conversationalist, shit, I dare anybody to try to mock my voice and make fun of it. Shit. I dare you to let your wife, fiance, or girlfriend listen to my episodes of The Erotic Conversation. She gonna be playing with her pussy like a motherfucker. Shit. My voice is nothing but smooth and seductive on my episodes of The Erotic Conversationalist. But anyway, Gina, she said that. She said, Alan, after one of my episodes of blog of Upfront and Straightforward, she said, Alan, your voice is different on your show Upfront and Straightforward than it is on your show The Erotic Conversationalist. And I said, yeah, I've heard that before, but give me your extra. She said, like, on The Erotic Conversationalist, your voice is consistently smooth, seductive, and masculine. Smooth, seductive, and masculine. But she said, when you're on your blog talk radio show, she said, your voice is kind of like all over the place. Sometimes it's real deep. Sometimes it's high. Other times somewhere in the middle. And she told me something that I had heard from a drama coach years ago when I was into acting. She said one of the things that causes that, and I just talked about this, Actually, on one of my Patreon exclusive videos. I just talked about this like within the last, I want to say, couple weeks. See, there's two general ways you can talk to people. You can talk to people from what's known as your diaphragm, your esophagus, your chest, or you can talk to people from your throat. You can talk to people from your throat. The number one time your voice is most likely to change its tonality and inflection is when you're talking from the throat. Because what Jen explained and a couple other people have explained to me, and I explain to my clients, when you're talking from your throat, you're essentially not breathing. You're severely restricting your breathing when you're talking. And that's what makes your voice go up or distorts your voice, is when you're talking from your throat. When you're relaxed and you're talking from your diaphragm, your esophagus, or your chest, that's when your voice is going to be the most resonant. The most resonant. Like the excerpt you heard from the Beta Male Revolution. See, pretty much when I did my audiobooks, I was speaking from my diaphragm. And that's why my voice sounds deeper and more resonant, because I was speaking from my diaphragm. That's when your voice is going to go up like this. And see, the number one time I tend to unintentionally speak from my throat, number one is when I'm angry, agitated, or frustrated. And my brother's the same way. A lot of men are the same way. It ain't just me. Like, I can name a number of people I've heard on YouTube that have done the same thing. Obsidian has done the same thing. C Boogie even. I've heard C Boogie when he's gotten into like an argument with somebody, his voice will go up a couple octaves. I mean, it won't go up super duper high, but it will go up compared to his normal voice. His voice will go up an octave or two. Stevie Dean Williams. He's somebody I've always said has a pretty smooth, resonant voice. But when Stevie Dean Williams gets angry or upset or agitated, his voice will go up 2 or 3 octaves. I can name a number of people I've heard on YouTube and otherwise. A lot of men, celebrities, I think, like Sean Connery. Sean Connery was probably one of the top male celebrities that was known for having a deep, resonant voice. But I've seen him in acting roles where he's doing a scene where he's really like agitated or upset or angry or frustrated, and his voice went up like 2 or 3 octaves. So that happens with a lot of people. But that's the number one time my voice gets distorted. Number one is when I'm angry, agitated, upset, frustrated. Number 2 is when I'm sad. If I'm sad about something. You know, like thinking about my mother, father's death or something like that. My voice will usually crack and become distorted. Third most time, and this happens a lot on YouTube videos, it used to happen on my Blog Talk Radio show. And this probably is unique to me. Sometimes I'll be in a situation, I'm sure if you're perceptive, you could catch on to this in some of my videos. The other time my voice gets distorted is when I'm over anxious to get something out. Like sometimes I have this bad habit of, I'll be thinking of like 5 different things I want to talk about. Like say when I do a YouTube video. And like, let's say 3 of those 5 things, I'm like really anxious to talk about them. It's like I can't wait to get it out my mouth. And that a lot of times leads to a distortion of my voice, is when I'm like really over anxious and excited to get something out, to talk about something. So that's the 3 times when my voice is going to be the most distorted. When I'm angry, frustrated, upset, agitated. Number 2, if the emotion of sadness is dictating my verbal delivery. Or 3 is when I'm over anxious to talk about something. I'm over anxious and excited to talk about a particular topic or talking point. But no, man. So yeah, man, I didn't like that impersonation of me by C Boogie. But real quickly, 2 things. One, a few years ago, I want to say this was in 2015. Yeah, I think it was 2015. I invited about 5 women to listen to a couple episodes of my Erotic Conversationalist show and at least one episode of my blog talk radio show, Upfront and Straightforward, and offer a review of it. And they did. I can't remember if it was 4 or 5. It was either 4 or 5 different guest bloggers, women who had somewhat popular bloggers at the time. They had blog sites at the time where they would review stuff. And I think most of them were known for reviewing people's audio podcasts. So I invited them to review mine. And one woman made a note of what I was talking about what Gina said about my voice is all over the place. And I'm going to read a little excerpt real quick. Her name was Dre Carrington. And this is what she said about an interview I did with this woman named Jolynn Clemens. She said, I was really excited for this one because I had not ever heard of Zoxy.com. That was this website where you could make it publicly known that you've never had an STD, that you're STD free. That was the main emphasis of this website, Zoxy. Dre continues. So I was quite curious to find out more about the company and the services they have to offer from the CEO and founder of the company, Miss Jolynn Clemens. Having listened to episodes from both of Alan Roger Currie's formats, his live talk radio program, Upfront and Straightforward, and his pre-recorded and uploaded for mature adults-only podcast program, The Erotic Conversationalist, I would have to say that I prefer his interviews from The Erotic Conversationalist better. If for no other reason, Alan's vocal quality is more consistently smooth and seductive throughout the entire episode, and his interviews with his guests usually start right away. Yeah, I used to get criticized for starting my interviews real late into the interview. Like I'd start the show at 9 p.m. Central, and I wouldn't start my interview with my guests until like 9:30 or 9:45. And she continues, when Alan interviews guests on Upfront and Straightforward, his vocal quality tends to fluctuate more often from high-pitched at times to smooth, sultry, and seductive at other times during the interview. Even worse, Alan doesn't begin, I already mentioned that. She says, even worse, Alan usually doesn't begin his interviews with his guests until a half hour or later into the episode. So yeah, that's an example of a woman who made mention of the fact that my voice sometimes is all over the place. Now here's where I give C Boogie props. He made up for it. Because even though he took a jab at my vocal tonality, did you notice that last compliment he gave me towards the end of his comment? He called me the Michael Jordan of verbal seduction. I've actually had quite a few men give me similar labels. Yeah, he said, you got to give it to ARC. He's pretty much like the Michael Jordan of verbal seduction.
You kind of mix that in with some verbal seduction, man, this nigga gonna have his way. Like, he was saying shit like, I've had mothers and daughters sucking my dick at the same time. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now.
I appreciate that, C Boogie. Again, I've had other guys call me. Why do you think I got one of my nicknames, my most top 2 popular nicknames, primarily among women, but even among some men too, is the king of verbal seduction. The king of verbal seduction. Here's what I don't get, and then I'll get off this subject. Here's what I don't get. A lot of men, when they want to impersonate me, they'll impersonate everything but, damn near everything but my smooth and seductive voice. I've hardly ever heard men do a good job of impersonating my smooth and seductive voice. I rarely have guys who have done a good impersonation of my smooth, seductive voice. You know who's good at impersonating me when it comes to doing my more smooth, seductive type voice? Is women. And I would say the same thing with my brother. My brother, we talked about it. Like, I remember one time I was visiting my brother in South Carolina, and he had this female coworker, and he said, bro, I forget her name. Let's call her Linda. He said, man, Linda right here, man, she got me down. And I was like, well, she's a woman. He's like, dude, she does a better impersonation of me than any man I've ever known, with the exception of you, my brother. Sure enough, man, she started imitating my brother, basically his real smooth type voice. Man, she had that motherfucker dead on. And I've had the same thing. Like, I've had women, like, there was one time this woman called into my Blog Talk Radio show, and she said, I want to do my impersonation of Alan Roger Currie when he talking to women. And I said, okay, go ahead. I just knew it was going to be a goofy, corny type impersonation. Man, she had me down. She had me down better than any man who's ever tried to impersonate me. She was like, yeah, this is Alan Roger Currie. Yeah, I want you to put your finger on your pussy. You got your finger on that pussy? Now play with it. And say, I love to play with my pussy. Yeah, say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Yeah, you love playing that pussy. I'm going to put my dick all in your pussy. Fuck the shit out of you. Say, I want you to fuck me, Alan. I mean, she did it, man. I'm going to have to find the episode. This chick had me fucking down. She had me down better than any man who's ever tried to impersonate me. Yeah, the only time men try to impersonate me is this whole high-pitched thing or having my voice sound all distorted and goofy and shit. But sticking on the subject of C Boogie, I wanted to play a couple of brief clips of the original video I was talking about. This was the video where me and C Boogie kind of had a difference of opinion, and where I had to issue what I would call at least a semi-apology to him. Well, it wasn't the actual comments that he made. Well, I'll play the comments and then I'll talk about them.
Yeah, there is a distinct difference between ARC and I guess I would say the Pookies, the Ray Rays. You know what I'm saying? That's contributing to a lot of black community fuckery. But so one of the issues that we have in the black community is that a lot of black females are reckless with their womb, and they don't choose men by a criteria of being, resourceful, industrious, good family man. They choosing them off looks, height, swag, how thick his beard is, things like that. At this point, what I was saying was, now why would ARC say anything otherwise when he has benefited so long? And he has even admitted that a black woman took care of him when he had nothing. So that is not every black man experience. So why would he speak against that? Well, matter of fact, he would be a damn fool to speak against. See me.
That voice you heard was a brother who goes by the name C Boogie. Now, I like C Boogie. His slogan is straight ahead. He's an entertaining brother. Now, I don't have too much harshly critical about the things he said, but I just simply say a lot of his stuff made me say, duh. That's the response I have just for a lot of stuff he said is, duh. He said stuff that to me is a given. Again, for the upteenth time, he said Alan Roger Currie's experiences with women are different from a lot of men, and particularly a lot of black men, because he's more in that select category as opposed to the non-select category. For me, that's a duh. That's a duh. I never denied that, so I don't even see why that's a talking point. I never denied that for most of my life. Again, in terms of physical appearance and overall charm and sex appeal and swag, I've never denied that I've been in the quote-unquote select category. But again, I want to mention, on the flip side, though, there's different ways that women might consider a guy select. It might not just be solely on looks. It might, well, I know with some guys, they might be more select in relation to how educated they are, their level of career success, their level of financial success. Those are the main areas where I would say I've generally been in the non-select category. Because I up until recently, I've never been a motherfucker who was earning six figures or more. I never drove no fancy car, Well, yeah, I did have a nice BMW in Los Angeles. I did for a while. Yeah, I had a nice BMW. So let me adjust that a little bit. But no, I was never no big baller type motherfucker. The guys who could go out and just spend $500 on a woman in one night or one weekend. I ain't never been that motherfucker. Ever. Ever.
Coming from my perspective, I'm not blaming ARC for who he is. I mean, hell, like, you are who you are. But what I'm saying is, you know what I'm saying? I pretty much made my point about him benefiting. But
this is where I'm going to come to Alan Roger Currie. Alan Roger Currie will kind of say it by not saying it, that he'll imply it, that black men need to be good for the black community and just go ahead and get somebody, and we don't really have a right to basically change teams or do what LeBron James did. That's a betrayal, even if we go after other black women.
Young brother Anderson. God bless your heart. God bless your heart, man. Dude, my hardcore side, real talk, wants to just right now, just destroy your self-esteem for the rest of your life. I'm saying that real. That's the hardcore side of my voice, is what it's saying. I want to lash into you so hard that I would literally seek to destroy your self-esteem and sense of self-respect for the rest of your motherfucking living days on earth. But I'm going to tone down my criticisms and just say that the shit you just said was some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Particularly with my name being attached to it. That was some of the dumbest shit you said in your life. Now, that second voice you heard, who I was just lashing out at, was this young brother on YouTube named Edward Anderson. And it's interesting, when I was re-listening to the clip involving C Boogie and my reaction to what he said, I did owe him at least a semi-apology. Because really, C Boogie was actually, in his own way, defending me. His commentary was in no way trying to criticize me. He was in so many words saying, I don't know why you motherfuckers expect a guy like Alan Roger Currie to be going in on black women and harshly criticizing some black women when this is a motherfucker who's had his way with black women. This nigga's had his way with black women. Matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I did that video. I think it was in 2018. I did a video called ARC Cannot Relate to Most of the Black Men on YouTube. And that was the very reason why I did that video, man. Before I came to YouTube, man, I'm telling you straight up. See how my voice just went up? Because I'm a little agitated? If you notice, my voice went up a couple octaves when I just said that comment. Before I came to YouTube, man, I never hung around motherfuckers who was whining and bitching about women, man. Whether it was black women, white women, Asian, I didn't hang around motherfuckers like that. Matter of fact, I've said before, like when I was in college, there was a small percentage of brothers when I was at Indiana University. They used to always talk about how fucked up sisters were. And I would always move away from them. It was usually on the basketball court. Like after we get finished playing basketball, we would get to talking about certain parties. And then there would always be 2 or 3 guys that would start going in on sisters. And I would just walk away. And they'd be like, hey, Alan, what's up, man? Why you leaving? I'd be like, hey, man, y'all carry on. Because I didn't want to hear that shit, man. I hate to keep saying this like a broken record, but I'm going to say it again, man. Starting with my senior year in high school, there goes my voice going up a little bit because I'm a little agitated. Women in general, and particularly black women, have treated me like a king. That's just real motherfucking talk. And some people see that as me being arrogant and conceited, but I'm just keeping it real, man. I've had my way with most of the women I've dealt with. Most of the sisters I've dealt with, I've had my fucking way with them. And so C Boogie was basically saying, what would be Alan Roger Currie's motivation to be talking about stuff like black female fuckery and how fucked up black women are when this motherfucker got a black mother and black daughter sucking his dick at the same time? So yeah, if I didn't give C Boogie an emphatic semi-apology back then, I give it to him now, man, because he really, yeah, he was pointing out the obvious. He was like, I don't know why y'all, because see, motherfuckers like Obsidian at that time and this guy Edward Anderson, they were basically making the argument that Alan Roger Currie is scared to go in on black women. They would make it look like I'm a coward, like he's scared to go in on black women because he's scared of the backlash. Man, I ain't scared to go in on anybody. I ain't scared to go in on anybody. But again, as C. Boogie rightfully pointed out, he was basically saying Alan Roger Currie ain't scared to go in on black women. If you look at his life, he has no motivation to go in on black women. This motherfucker has ran women. Matter of fact, that's what we used to call ourselves back in the day. A nickname, a lot of us members of my fraternity, if you were a top-notch womanizer, the nickname for being a womanizer was a hoe runner. People say, oh, he a hoe runner. That's what a lot of guys used to say about me. They used to be like, oh, Alan Roger Currie, oh, he a hoe runner, man. That dude's a hoe runner, man. He be running these women on campus, man. These women do anything he want them to do. I used to have women on campus calling me sir. This was back in the mid-'80s. Like 1985, women used to call me sir. That was like, at the time, that was unheard of. Like, matter of fact, when I had a mini reunion with some of my frat brothers, they brought that up. They said, you know one thing I remember about you, man, when we was on campus? You used to have bitches calling you sir, man. They wouldn't even call you Alan or AC or nothing. They would call you sir. That's the type of seductive influence I had on women when I was on college campus. So anyway, now, but the response you heard me get to C Boogie when I basically said that's a duh, that wasn't what got C Boogie upset. What got him upset, as I mentioned in my very last video, was an excerpt you didn't hear, was towards the end of the video, I said, I kind of took a jab at all three of them together. Edward Anderson, Game Changer, and C Boogie, I kind of lumped them together. And C Boogie pointed out on his video that he did this morning that that's what upset him. He didn't like being lumped in with Edward Anderson and Game Changer. And again, re-listening to it, he had a right to be upset because he wasn't offering the same criticisms that the other two guys were offering. Like again, Obsidian, Game Changer, and Edward Anderson, they were offering the argument that Alan is scared to go in on black women. Whereas C Boogie was basically saying, this nigga has no need to go in on black women. He has his way with bitches. What the fuck he gonna criticize him for? He had no bad experiences with black women like these other motherfuckers on YouTube. So anyway, C Boogie, you still my dog, man, but man, why I gotta be sounding like the late and great Michael Jackson, man, with a high-pitched voice, man? A motherfucker who's had phone sex with over 2,000 women, with at least 40% of those women paying me for phone sex. You don't get no woman's pussy wet using no high-pitched voice like this. Hey, C Boogie. Hey, C Boogie. What's up, C Boogie? How you doing, C Boogie? Man, again, my voice goes up high, but don't go up that high. Anyway, now I'm going to talk about something a bit more serious. That's the Harvey Weinstein case. Now, as you know, I touched on him probably at least 3 or 4 times ever since the Me Too movement came into existence. Now, I'm going to preface my comments by saying I don't really care for Harvey Weinstein. Don't like the motherfucker. I think a lot of shit he did with women was way out of control. He was on some kind of egotistical power trip. So I don't like the motherfucker. Let me make that clear. I don't like Harvey Weinstein. I don't like what he's about, man. But that said, I'm going to say this. I'm disturbed by a couple of elements related to his recent trial. As you know, if you haven't heard already, he got convicted. He was accused of 5 things, and 3 of them, the jury came back with the verdict not guilty, but 2 of his 5 charges, he came back as guilty. He was not guilty of predatory assault. Like, that's basically like the same thing as saying premeditated assault. He was not accused of premeditated assault. He was not charged with, convicted of first-degree rape, which is the same thing, again, as saying premeditated rape. And there was one other thing that he was not guilty. Wait, if you don't mind, let me pull it up. Okay, he had 2 charges related to being a sexual predator, which he was found not guilty. 1 charge of first-degree rape, which he was found not guilty. He was found guilty of third-degree rape, criminal sexual assault in the first degree, and rape in the third degree is what he was found guilty of. Criminal sexual assault in the first degree and rape in the third degree. Okay, without getting too lengthy, here's what I have a problem with. And I read this article that basically stated this, so I know I'm not the one who feels this way. In many ways, Harvey Weinstein got convicted based on hearsay, based on just a woman's testimonial. He didn't get convicted based on like hardcore evidence. Like that's why they tell women, man, when you get raped, you should immediately go to the hospital and immediately report it to the police so that they could do what's called a rape kit. And they can examine your body, because when a woman is raped, she has certain physical signs of that. I think most of you probably already know that already. There's physical signs of a woman getting raped. See, a lot of these women who are coming up with these rape charges and date rape charges in the Me Too movement era, they're like years after the fact. And so it kind of disturbs me that he's able to get convicted of a felony crime just based on a woman's testimonial. That's bullshit. I mean, that would be like if I fucked a woman, let's say 4 years ago, and all of a sudden she went to a journalist and said, you know what? Dating coach Alan Roger Currie raped me. He date raped me. And they say, well, what evidence do you have? Well, I really don't have any evidence, but my girlfriend Tanisha, I told her, and she can back me up on it because I told her. And then say, I went to court and I got convicted of date rape simply because this woman, Shaniqua, had a testimony saying that I date raped her, and it was corroborated by her best friend, Taniqua, whatever. That's some bullshit. That's bullshit. And again, I don't even like Harvey Weinstein. I don't like him at all, so I'm not really, it's not in my heart to defend this motherfucker. But when you really look at how that trial went down, man, that was some bullshit. I mean, straight up. How you gonna convict the motherfucker just on testimonial? But you don't have no hardcore, you don't have no video evidence, you don't have no audio evidence, you don't have no physical rape kit evidence. That's some bullshit, man. That's bullshit. See my voice going up? I'm angry. See my voice, my octaves going up? That's some bullshit, man. You opening up Pandora's box, man, and shit gonna get ugly, man. That's some bullshit, man. The second minor thing I have a problem with this trial that I read about, and even Bill Cosby, who's in prison, tweeted about this. His jury was not sequestered. Let me repeat that. Harvey Weinstein's jury was not sequestered. For those of you who are legally ignorant and asking, what does that mean? Say, when you have a criminal trial, your jury, you get found guilty or not guilty based on a jury of your peers, random people from society who are a jury of your peers. They're always supposed to be sequestered so that they don't have access to newspapers, they don't have access to magazines, they don't have access to the internet, they don't have access to television. Because see, if a jury member has access to media, mainstream media, they can be influenced by listening to people like on TV talk shows and shit. They can be influenced. That's why a lot of people hate doing jury duty. That's one reason why a lot of people historically have hated doing jury duty, because they know if it's a long trial, they're going to be sequestered. They're going to be cut off from mainstream society. That means they can't watch TV. They can't read newspapers. They can't read magazines. They can't get on the internet. They can't do none of that shit. And that's for the sake of a fair trial, so that the jury is not negatively influenced or positively influenced by what they hear in the media. But it came out that Harvey Weinstein's jury wasn't sequestered. They still had access to like newspapers and magazines and the internet and shit. So what that has the potential to do is produce a biased verdict, a media biased verdict. That's bullshit, man. See, my voice just went up. See how it went up? Man, that's probably what he'd be trying to imitate. Man, I said, that's bullshit, man. Man, that's bullshit. How deep was that? That's bullshit. That's bullshit, man. And again, I hate defending this motherfucker. I don't like Harvey Weinstein. I think he's scum of the earth. But man, dude, the United States is setting a bad precedent by allowing someone to get convicted based on a woman's testimony and a corroboration by a friend or acquaintance of her testimony. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, man. That ain't right, man. See, if women feel like they can get away with that shit, man, women gonna come out the woodworks with false accusations, man. I mean, again, man, I would be pissed to the highest degree if I got convicted of a date rape charge just on a woman just saying, yeah, I was in a hotel with Alan Currie like 3.5 years ago, and he just ripped off my dress and bit me over and started fucking me doggy style. And I said, stop, Alan, stop. Quit fucking me doggy style. Quit making me come all on your dick, stop. And he just kept going. He said, shut up, bitch. Shut up, bitch. I'm going to keep fucking you. And I went to my girlfriend, Taniqua, and I said, he raped me. And she said, girl, what'd he do? And then I told her, and she said, yeah, that nigga raped you. That's some bullshit, man. See, you see how I did that impersonation? That contributes to my voice being all over the place. Because when I used to do stand-up comedy, one of the things I was known for was being real good at impersonating people. Like, I knew how to impersonate women. Sometimes I can impersonate women better than other women can impersonate women. I know how to impersonate a wide range of people. And that's why sometimes my voice is all over. Anyway, enough about the voice shit. I'm going to give a real quick Patreon exclusive portion. It's going to be real quick. It's just about a reminder about something this weekend. And then that'll be it for today. All right, people. Take it easy.